It's the Eagle Community Television Forum with your host, Gary Shorman.
Hi, and welcome to the Forum program here on Eagle Television. Great to have you watching our program. The program is brought to you by Hayes Med. Our guest, the one you see to my right, your left, is Jacob Schmeidler, and he's qualified to be a contestant in the National Livestock Judging Association coming up here shortly. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Well, I know somebody out there is thinking, what does it take to qualify for this? So we're going to go all the way back. We're going to go start it. You started judging when you were 6 years old. How'd that happen?
So at one of my first county fairs, my dad kind of nudged me over to Kurt Beinert.
And go judge, go
learn from him and go judge in the contest. And I ended up taking sixth in that contest, my very first one. And ever since, I've had a passion for it. I've wanted to grow as much as I can in that skill.
Now, you grew up on the farm. You grew up around livestock your entire life. Does that help?
It really does. When I'm not around my cattle and around my livestock, then sometimes I almost get a little bit of withdrawal. But at the same time, when I am around them, I get to talk to them, I get to look at them and evaluate just as I would any other livestock judging class. So it really has a lot of benefit. Now,
you're a senior at TMP this year, and you do some classes through TMP as all this extracurricular?
So I do through TMP. Luckily, we have gotten an ag program and an FFA chapter within these last couple of years. And through that, I've been able to take classes such as Principles of Animal Science and Introduction to Agriculture, which have kind of expanded my view on agriculture and my knowledge within it. So that has helped quite a bit.
So if somebody were to run a cow in here, what would be the first things you look for?
So the two things in breeding livestock that we look for, which a cow, would be structure and volume. So we'd want her to be able to be comfortable and angular about her feet, about her leg structure. And then beyond that, we'd want her to have plenty of body capacity, plenty of rib shape and depth to rib.
And on the other hand, there's the livestock side of that. Is that different when you're judging an animal that's going to be a food type animal versus a production type animal?
So when we're judging market animals,
Thank you for helping me with the right term there, market animals. Okay?
Yes, sir. So when we're judging market animals, our two priorities are muscle and finish. So we want them to have plenty of muscle because that's where the meat, that's the food we eat. And then we want the finish, which is the fat. That way we can also, that's going to give the flavor and the quality to it.
So one of the things that just is curious to me, never done this. I grew up on a farm, but the livestock was there. You raised it, you sold it, and you moved on, found some more livestock. You've taken it to a different level by really evaluating some of those things that are really very specific to this. How do you train? I know you see a good cow, that's a good looking cow, that's whatever, but how do you train to get to be the best at doing this, to get invited to the national competition?
So one of the things as a junior 4-H'er that I did was just go to as many contests as I can, just talk to as many people. And beyond that, I've been given the opportunities to not only work out with the K-State livestock judging team through this Kansas All-Stars team, but I've also gotten the opportunity to work out with the Fort Hays State University livestock judging team. And so 2 to 3 days a week, I'll usually go out and work out with them. And then on weekends, I'll go and work out with the K-State team. And we usually go, and just like in any contest, we'll judge the livestock in classes of 4 on these principles in which I kind of talked about. And then we'll give our oral sets of reasons to our coaches. And it just helping its repetitiveness, getting that into your brain that's what you need to be looking for, and this is what we need to be doing.
If you drive by, you see a herd of cattle, they all look the same. You find the best ones in the group. When they run, how many do you get to choose from when you're doing the judging? You mentioned you were doing some practice judging over in the McPherson area. How many livestock will you look at? How many different individual cattle will you look at?
So in each class, there are 4 animals of similarities in terms of species and purpose. So we'll have like 4 breeding heifers in a class in which we're ranking from best to worst, pretty much. And so that's how every class is going to be, 4 market lambs, 4 breeding heifers, and so on. And that's just that's how it is. Every once in a while, they'll throw in you'll get a keep cull class, which they'll usually have about 8 animals, and you get to keep 4. And as the rancher, you get to act like you're keeping 4 of them, and you have to sell for them, and that's just, you mark which ones you decide to keep based on qualities and certain data sheets.
So what do the judges, I mean, you do the oral, I'll say oral arguments, the oral supporting statements that go along with each one of those animals. How do the judges know?
So there is a committee of people who are much more experienced than I am that go out and they decide that this is, as a committee, as a democracy of a committee, they decide that this is how the class should most logically be placed, and they talk about the reasons why. And like I said, they're very experienced, so they typically know exactly why, and they can explain each animal to you and I much better than I could. So then I go to and give my set of reasons, and I explain, I kind of argue as to why I think the class should have been placed, why I do. Sometimes it's the same as theirs, sometimes it's not. And they listen to me, and if I can explain it accurately, that's when we get points for it.
Now you do a nice job of obviously explaining things and doing that. I assume that helps when you get a little bit of confidence when you're talking to the judges, talking to those people that are, saying, hey, this guy knows what he's talking about. If that's the case, what's it take to win the Nationals? What's it going to take?
It's going to take from when I started to now, it's going to take a lot of determination, a lot of practice, and a lot of it is just being confident and not letting yourself get inside your head, and just going back to your basics and saying, this is how livestock should be evaluated. These are my priorities. And then going into the reasons room, as we call it, with plenty of confidence and knowing that this is how I placed them, this is why, and that's how it's going to be.
Now, do they ever throw animals with kind of odd characteristics into the group to see how you define it, how you would do that may not be good, or they may be very good, but it's just different than what you've seen before?
They often will. Sometimes you'll see they'll call them like a commercial class of heifers or so, and they'll all four be the same color, and then you'll have one that's, maybe you'll have three, or they'll all three be like black or so, all solid black. Then you'll have like a red one, or maybe a chromed up, as we call it, with white markings. And sometimes that's eye appealing and it wants to draw you to it, but she may be the lowest quality and bad structured or so.
They'll play around with you a little bit.
Yes,
so the event itself, tell me about the event itself. How does that work and where is it?
So it's in Louisville, Kentucky at the North American International Livestock Exposition, which is one of the 3 major shows in the country. And so what they'll do is they have contests throughout the week. They'll have the junior college contest, the senior college contest, and then our 4-H contest. And in our 4-H contests they'll take, and I believe we have around 12 classes or so of livestock to evaluate, and we'll have to give reasons on some of them. And of course we'll evaluate them, and then we'll have to give reasons on some of them. And then at the national contest, we also have a questions division, which they'll kind of turn us, well, we usually in practice they turn us around, but they'll sit us down and ask us questions about each individual animal or about the class and which animal fits this description, and we'll have to write it down.
Very cool. Well, proud of you for the work of getting here. I want to find out what's next, because you put a lot into this growing up, working with animals. You're talking about some classes now, or taking classes now at TMP. I want to find out what's next, so will you hang with us here during a break?
Yes, sir.
Jacob Schmeidler is our guest here. He's going to be heading to the Nationals, the 2018 National Livestock Judging Competition in Louisville. We'll talk more with him about what's next, what's in his future, after this from Hayes Med.
Hayes Med is your first and best choice for healthcare. They're the only facility providing tertiary level services in this region. With more than 70 physicians and 26 specialties ranging from heart, orthopedic, spine care, cancer, obstetrics and gynecology, wound care, rehabilitation and surgery, including the Da Vinci robotic surgery, Hayes Med is your comprehensive health provider for people throughout Western Kansas. Hayes Med, helping people be healthy.
Eagle Communications is your ultimate business partner. We provide business class phone with customizable features and fast, reliable internet. Your knowledgeable team at Technology Solutions has a broad base of IT services to meet your needs. Let the experts at Marketing Solutions get your message to the right people on the best platforms. The only piece missing is your business. Call Eagle Communications today at 877-61-EAGLE.
Hi everyone, this is Gerard Welbrock inviting you to join us for Tiger Talk. We record it over the noon hours, Mondays at Old Chicago north of the interstate in Hayes, and play back at 6 o'clock Monday nights on Tiger Radio Mix 103. You can also catch it on Eagle TV's channel 14 and 614, Tuesday and Wednesdays at 10 a.m. and 7 p.m., and always on HayesPost.com. So join us for Tiger Talk over the noon hour Mondays at Old Chicago.
Welcome back to the second half of our Forum program on Eagle Television. The Forum's brought to you by Hayes Med. If you have any ideas or suggestions for future programs, people you would like to see in this chair right over here, send me a note, gary.shorman@eaglecom.net. I'd like to hear from you. Jacob Schmeidler is our guest, and Jacob he's been judging livestock since he was 6 years old, heading off to the national competition in Louisville. And one of the things that we talked about going into the break is what's next? When you do livestock judging, obviously that pays off when you're actually in production and buying, and you've been in that already. Is that the goal, is to get back into animals and coming back to this area to raise animals?
So after this year, I plan to continue my my college education in agriculture, and more specifically, probably animal science. So that's eventually, I do plan to come back and raise my own herd, maybe take over my dad's herd of registered Angus and Semi-Angus cattle around here up in Catherine. But I've also looked into doing something along the lines of with ag communications, where maybe I'd work for an organization such as Kansas or American Farm Bureau, the National Junior Angus Association, with places that advocate for agriculture, that advocate for livestock production.
Well, you're off to a good start on getting that done, advocating for not only yourself, but what you're doing with the livestock and doing the judging that way. I know there's some interesting rules. I was reading about this when I was looking at you being on the program, but it seems like if you go to a junior college, you get a little extra year to be able to do that. How does that work? And do you know where you're going next year for college?
So with livestock judging in college, you get 2 semesters, a full year of eligibility within the junior college division and the senior college division. They're split up 2 ways. So you couldn't be able to go to like a 4-year such as Fort Hays or K-State and get 2 years of eligibility there. But you would be able to go to like Hutchinson Community College, judge on their team, and get a year. You would kind of take your freshman year's practice, your sophomore year is your eligibility, and then you would be able to graduate to a senior college.
And do 2 years at a 4-year school then?
1 year.
1 year there. Okay. Well, it looks like you have a great potential. Look forward to hearing the results back on how you're doing with the national competition. When you look at being at the national level, that raises the bar on excitement, doesn't it?
It really does.
I'm excited for
yeah.
you, so I can imagine pulling up to, it's a beautiful facility there, I know, and jumping in with the group. How many people total will be there? Judging,
There's going to be, in the 4-H division, it won't be as large as some of the events we've gone to. We've gone to events where we judge along with the senior college and junior college divisions. But it'll be 4-Hers, or teams of 4 from, I couldn't even tell you how many states, all over the country. Each state will be represented just about. And so with that being said, it'll be some really extremely tough competition because we like to consider it the elites of each state.
Are you still glad your dad nudged you in when you were 6 years old to be hey, Jacob, go judge this?
That's one of the things that
Yay, Dad, right?
Yeah, I couldn't thank him enough for.
Yay, Dad. So. All right, well, thank you, Jacob, for being on our program. Good luck in the judging. Look forward to having you back at some point to talk about how you did and what you did. Jacob is at TMP and is going to the national competition in Louisville to judge livestock, so good luck with that.
Thank you.
Jacob Schmeidler is our guest, and our program is brought to you by Hayes Med and by Eagle Communications, our community connected.